Hi everyone, I'm Angie and welcome to Make It Monday. Today we are going to create marble paper and we'll be using shaving cream and ink for that. So we're going to get started. This is the paper, what some of the paper will look like when you're finished. And then once we're done creating the paper, then we are going to create this little notebook and this bookmark. So I'm going to clean this up here and move it off to the side, and we are going to start creating our paper. Okay, so to create our paper, what we're going to need is some kind of tray to hold our shaving cream and ink and everything. This is just an old plastic drawer. Works really well for this. The other thing you're going to need is cardstock paper. This you can find cardstock paper at Target, Walmart. Just make sure it's cardstock weight. So cardstock weight is 60 pounds or heavier. This is probably a 70-pound paper. 70 pound, 80 pound is probably better than 60 pound. It'll just hold up a little bit better. So I've got several pieces cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And if you take an 8 1/2 by 11 sheet of paper and cut it into quarters, this is the size you'll come up with. So you would get 4 sheets out of an 8 1/2 by 11 piece of paper. And then I also cut a few longer sheets that we can use to make our bookmark with. And these are cut to 3 by 7 inches. The other thing you're going to need is some kind of ink to put in the shaving cream. So what I'm using, these have been in my stash forever. It's kind of like a watercolor ink. The other thing that you can use is just basic food coloring. So just food coloring that you would buy at the grocery store. We're also going to need shaving cream. I just bought the cheapest shaving cream I could find at Target. This is what I have, and we'll use that. And then lots of paper towels, like a popsicle stick or something that you can use to marble the paper with. And then something that you can scrape the shaving cream off the paper with. This will all make more sense once we get started. This is just an old piece of cardboard. And then paper towels, of course. So those are the things that we're going to need. When you're choosing your colors, I kind of refer back to the color wheel, or if you refer to rainbow order, you want to choose colors that are near each other on the color wheel. Colors opposite each other, like yellow and purple, they tend to make like a muddy color. They turn kind of brown. So you would not want to mix like yellow and purple together. It just doesn't work well. So I always try to choose colors like I love yellows, blues, and greens together, or blues and purples, reds, oranges, and yellows. So just keep that in mind when you're choosing the colors that you want to use for your marble paper. Let's see, what else do we need? All right, I think we're ready to get started. So shake up your shaving cream. And then you're going to squirt shaving cream down into your container. And it just needs to be a little bit larger than the piece of paper that you're going to do. So I probably need just a little bit more up on the top here. Okay, and then I'm going to just take this plastic spatula thing and just kind of smooth it out so that it's kind of one layer of shaving cream without the holes in between. You don't need like a huge amount of shaving cream. You don't need to fill this whole thing up. And you can just do this with a kitchen knife. I just happen to have this plastic spatula, so it works pretty good for that. Okay, so I've got kind of a nice layer of shaving cream going there. And this I'll just wipe off with a paper towel. Okay, so we have our shaving cream down. And now I've chosen my colors. I'm going to kind of go fall themed. So I've got, you want to choose about 3 to 4 colors, probably not more than 4, it gets to be too much. So I've got a yellow, 2 shades of orange, and a real dark red. So when you're putting your ink down, you can choose to put it in strips like this, or you can randomly dot it all over the place. It's really kind of up to you. Depending on how you lay your colors down is how mixed up they will be. So for this first one, we'll kind of randomly, I'm going to start with my yellow. And I'm going to kind of keep it, I'm going to kind of go in layers and kind of mix it up. And then I'm going to put some of my lighter orange in there. And I'm only putting 2 to 3 drops of each color in. You really don't need more than that. So now I'm going to go into my darker orange and I'm going to kind of keep that down towards the bottom here. And then I'm going to bring in my red, which I'm going to keep way at the bottom. So I've kind of done a stripe, and it will get all mixed up, so don't worry about that. Then I'm going to take my popsicle stick and I'm going to just start swirling my colors. Now if I wanted a little bit of this up here, I can take just a little bit of it on the popsicle stick. And you want to just mix it up a little bit. You don't want to over mix it, because it will get mixed up as we print here. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. Just going to take my plastic spatula and just move that off. Now if you're worried about your hands, this does not stain, but if you're the type of person who doesn't necessarily like to get messy, you can do rubber gloves with this. But this ink is not stained my hands, so you don't necessarily need to do that. Okay, so once I've got my ink in there, I'm going to take my piece of paper and I'm just going to lay it face down in there, and I'm just lightly tapping it into the shaving cream. I'm not smushing it in there. I'm just lightly tapping it in there. Now, in doing this, I've discovered, depending on how you pull that paper up, will depend kind of on how your design looks. So for this first one, I'm going to pull it just straight from the side and go this direction. Okay, so we've got all this shaving cream on there. So now I'm going to take my piece of cardboard and I'm going to scrape off the shaving cream, and what happens is the ink sticks to the paper. So I'm going to slide this to the left. I'm going to pull in my paper towel here. So then what I do is I just set it down on a piece of paper towel. Wipe that off. And I'm going to kind of wipe it off in the direction that I pulled it. So I pulled it sideways, so I'm just going to wipe it off. And then I'm going to go in the other direction. And I like to have a paper towel underneath. It just kind of helps absorb things. And so that is our first piece. So then you're just going to set that aside to dry. I'm going to slide that back over and slide this back in a little bit. Okay, so this I'm just going to scrape off and put it right back in there. I'm going to set that off to the side. And again, I'm just going to swirl this a little bit. Your first prints are always going to be your darkest. But with one inking of ink, you will get 8 to 12 pieces of paper just out of one inking of those quarter sheets of paper. So we're going to keep printing. So I'm going to put another sheet of paper in. And what happens is the more you print, your pieces will gradually get lighter and lighter and lighter. So this is the darkest you're going to get. And then we'll go lighter and lighter. So this one I'm going to take and I'm going to pull it from the corner this time. And it's still going to be a little bit directional because that's how we have our ink in the tray. And then again, I'm going to scrape off my ink. And there is my second piece. So again, I'm just setting it off to the side here on my paper towel. And I am going to just wipe it off. Okay, so there is our second piece. Again, still pretty vibrant. All right. So again, I'm going to scrape off my cardboard. And I'm going to just swirl my ink a little bit more. See, and you can tell that I've got a bunch of colors off to the side here. I'm just going to kind of drag those in. Okay, this time I'm going to grab one of my bigger pieces of paper for the bookmark. So my shaving cream isn't quite as big as this, but it will still work. So what I do is I just kind of push it in here and just slide it backwards. Okay, so I've got it in there. This time I'm going to pull it from the top and just let it pull downwards. I will say this is super addicting once you get started. Okay, so again I'm going to scrape off most of the shaving cream and put it back in there. Set this off to the side. And my paper towel, you know, it gets messy. I just open it up and turn it around and keep using the same paper towel. Okay, so there is our third printing, and it's still really vibrant. I think because I chose really bright colors, it's staying super vibrant. But as we keep printing, you'll see that it will start to mute out. Okay, so again, I'm just kind of swirling my shaving cream again. And also, the more you pull, the more your colors are going to get mixed together. So again, I'm going to place another piece of paper in here. And I'm going to pull from this opposite corner this time. And again, take my... Alright, I'm just going to take it off to the side again. And I know you probably can't see off to the side here too much, but... Alright. Do you see how it's getting more muted? So this was our first piece, and this is our fourth piece. So do you see how the colors are mixing more together as you do more paper? Okay. Again, and it's gonna kind of get, because the red is such a vibrant color, as we keep pulling, I'm gonna lose a little bit of my yellow and stuff. But I'm gonna keep pulling because I love how it looks as it gets lighter too. And there are a bunch of different things that you can do with this paper as you're probably thinking, okay, I print all this paper and then what do I do with it? It makes great note cards. Decorate it up with some stickers or something. It makes beautiful note cards that you could use as a gift set. You could do bigger sheets and do bigger notebooks. So that's another thing that you could do with it. Bookmarks, of course, you know, we're the library, so bookmarks are always a good thing. But again, it's getting lighter, but you're still getting all that muted. So because we're getting down in here and there's still some yellow underneath, that yellow is kind of popping through as you print. I think I'll do another bookmark size with this. And I'm trying not to over mix it because then it will just become one color. So I'm just trying to bring in, because I can see that I have some ink off to the side here. I'm just trying to pull that ink in. Again, I'm going to pull this one from the top. Whoop, I got a spot. And if you get a spot where there isn't any, just embrace the white space. Okay, so again, pulling the extra shaving cream off. And you do get messy doing this, but it sure is fun. And it's amazing that each piece comes out slightly different. So there is this piece. Oop, I still have some shaving cream on there. So you can see, again, even from this one to this one, how it's getting lighter. But we have printed 6 pieces of paper already, just with this one batch of ink. All right, we're going to keep going because I want you to see how light it gets. But it's also really pretty the lighter it gets. Okay, so we're going to put another piece in here. And I'm going to do another diagonal pull. Whoop. You can see that I have a big white space there, so I'm just going to push that in there a little bit better. Okay, there we go. And it's kind of fun because you see it this way and then you scrape it off and it sometimes looks completely different. Okay, time for a new paper towel. Okay. All right, wiping this one off. Okay, and there is that piece. Okay, I think I'm going to stop here. I can still print probably 6 more pieces of paper with that. But this is how you're going to do all your printing. So I would, if you're going to print for a day, I would say cut a ton of cardstock and just have it at the ready, and then just keep printing as long as you want to print. Like I said, we've done 8 pieces so far. I know I can get another 4 out of this easily before it starts to get really, really light. So I'm going to finish printing my 4 pieces, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you a bunch of different combinations that I've done. And then we'll get into making our notebook and bookmark. So I'm going to clean up and I'll see you in a little bit. Hey everyone, welcome back. So I've cleaned up my mess of inking and printing, and I want to show you what we got out of that. So I printed 18 pieces of paper just with that one application of ink. So I'm going to just kind of flip through. So this was our first print and our second, and you can see as we go through here that the ink is gradually getting lighter and lighter. So you can get some really bold designs, but if you keep printing, you'll also get some really beautiful pastel colors. I could hardly stop printing. It was so much fun, and this was the last print I did. And it's really light, but it's still very pretty. So 18 pieces. I'm going to show you. This is a grouping that I did with food coloring. So the ones that we did before were done with ink. These were done with food coloring that you just purchased from the store. So I used the yellow, the green, and the blue. And this, I don't think I mixed them up very well to start that first print, but it's still kind of fun. But again, I kept printing and I kept getting lighter and lighter, and still got beautiful results with the food coloring. The only thing I noticed with the food coloring is I don't think I can get as many prints as I can with the watercolor ink. And then I just want to show you a few of the other colors that I have done. I've done like some pinks and purples. I had threw some red in here. I wasn't sure I was really crazy about that, but I think if I cut it up, it'll be fine. My favorite, I think, this I started with a blue and a yellow and a green, and I kind of segmented it. But I love how these turned out. I think they're just beautiful. And then I did kind of a series of blues and greens. And again, you can see. And then I thought, could I do a rainbow? So I did. It does work. So you go in rainbow order. I'll flip it this way, Roy G. Biv. And what I did when I put the ink down, when I put my piece of paper down, instead of pulling like from the top to the bottom, I pulled just from the side in the same direction of the ink because I didn't want to mix it up too much or I was afraid it would get muddy. And it does work. You just have to be careful, and you probably won't get as many prints. But like that was my second print and my third print and my fourth print. But you can see like here as the inks are mixing up, it's starting to get a little bit of mud to it or a little bit of mutedness. But it can still be done. And then this was the last print. And I'm not crazy about it, but you just never know. So there's some of that. Okay, so we are going to start working on our notebook. So these are just little composition notebooks that you can get at, the dollar store or the, Target, Walmart, any of those places will have these small notebooks. And how we're going to cover this is choose a couple of your pieces of paper that you like. And I cut mine down just a little bit. So they were 4 1/4 inches wide. I cut it down to 3 inches wide just to make it a little bit easier. And then I also have a piece of release paper here from our laminate that we use at the library. A piece of wax paper or a piece of butcher paper with the shiny side up will work. I just placed that in between the cover and the pages just so I don't get glue on the pages. So this is just some craft tacky glue. And I am just going to squirt some on here. And you can use a paintbrush for this. I just use my finger. And I am just going to spread out the glue on the cover in a thin layer. Like I said, you can use a paintbrush for this. I'm going to be kind of careful when I come up against this edge that I don't want to get too much glue on that edge. I want there to be glue there, but I don't want it to go up on the black there, so I'll be a little careful there. And then I will spread this out. And I'm just going to wipe my finger off. And then I'm going to just take my piece of paper and butt it right up against. There's a little edge there by that tape. I'm just going to butt that up against that. And then I'm going to take my paper towel and make sure I'm not with a sticky part. And I'm just going to run it along that edge and just smooth it all out. All right, smooth that all out. Then I'm going to carefully lift this up and take out that piece of release paper because that's got glue all over it. And I'm actually going to flip that over a little bit and then just tuck the back side in. Then I'm going to just set something heavy on top of it. This is just an acrylic block that I have that I use kind of as a paperweight. You can use a stack of books. If you use a stack of books, maybe put a piece of wax paper over the top just so you don't get glue all over your books. All right, and we're going to set that aside to dry. Now we're going to work on our bookmark. So the bookmark, I have a couple die cut overlays that we're going to use. So these were the 2 die cut overlays that I had. I used that on this one, and today I think I'm going to use this. So I chose my piece of paper and I cut it down to fit right behind that bookmark overlay. And you don't necessarily have to use a bookmark overlay. You can decorate this up any way you want. You could use, you know, a die cut leaf or something like that. It doesn't have to be an intricate overlay. Decorate it up with stickers. You could use word stickers and spell bookmark or reading or something down the bookmark. So it doesn't have to be this. You can decorate it up any way you want. And I have a bookmark sleeve that it's going to go into. I found these on Amazon. You can just bookmark sleeve, just search that. And you don't even necessarily have to have a bookmark sleeve. You could decorate up your bookmark and run it through a laminator with a piece of laminate sheet. So however you want to do that. I just was trying to show you different ways that you could use your paper once you were done with it. So I have just some glue and a fine tip bottle. This works really well for me for these die cuts. So I'm just going to put glue around the edges and then certain spots in the middle. Sorry, this is probably kind of tedious for you to watch me do this. But I like to go around the outside edge, and then I'll kind of go down the middle here. It actually goes fairly quick. And then I'm just going to kind of, along the bigger sections, put a couple dots of glue so that it all sticks down really well. All right. So I'm just going to carefully pick that up, flip it over, and glue. And this is why I like liquid glue, because it gives me some wiggle room time. And the glue that I'm using dries matte, so even if it squishes out a little bit, it is going to dry. Okay, just going to push that down. And then I also have a piece I'm going to glue that I cut just the same size to the back. On the other one that I did, I had a bunch of shaving cream stuff on the back, so that is the only reason for this second thing, is if you've got marks of shaving cream or ink or whatever on the back, you don't want to see that on the back side of your bookmark. So again, I'm going to just take some liquid glue and glue this around. So for those of you picking up a kit from the library, you are going to have everything you need for the bookmark. You'll be able to choose which overlay you want to take with you, and how I'll have some pieces there that you can use to decorate it. So again, I'm going to just place that on the back side here and then press it down. So yeah, these marble papers make beautiful bookmarks. And like I said, decorate them up however you want. I've got a little bit of white showing there. See if I have enough wiggle room to move that a little bit. There we go. Okay, so again, normally I would place something on top of this to let it dry. So then once it's done, I'm going to pull this one here. You would just slide it into your bookmark sleeve. And what I like to do is open the bookmark sleeve up with your fingers a little bit, and then you can slide it right in there. I don't want to slide it too much because my glue is still wet, but you would just slide it all the way in there. And then for this one, I will just use a piece of ribbon for my bookmark tag. So that is your bookmark. We're going to step back over to our notebook here, and I'm going to pull that piece off the inside. Okay, so this is dry enough that I can cut it. So you're going to do both sides of the notebook this way. So you're going to do one side, let it dry, trim it, do the other side, let it dry, and trim it. So to trim it, all I do is open the notebook up, and you've got this edge here. You're just going to place your scissors right up against that edge and just trim off the excess. And like I said, if you wanted to do bigger notebooks, you certainly could do that. And then you would just need to print bigger pieces of paper. Okay, so that's all trimmed up. If you get some little hairs like that, just flip it to the other side and just take your scissors and trim off. Okay, so we've got our book covered. And I don't think there really matters which way the front is. In mine, I'm going to decorate with just this leaf. So I'm just going to take and glue that to the cover. Let's see which is the front side. There's the back side. And again, my glue in the fine tip bottle. All I do is just take the tacky glue, and you can find these fine tip bottles. They're very inexpensive. And I just place it in that fine tip bottle. It just makes it easier for me to glue. All right. So I'm going to pick this up. And then just I want it kind of at an angle. Just place that down on the cover of my book. And then again, I'm going to lay my acrylic block on the top till it dries. All right, everyone, that is marble paper. Oh, one other thing I wanted to show you. Another thing is if you're into making cards, which I am, they make great note cards. So all I did is trim my paper down a little bit, placed it on a black note card, and again, this is a die cut, but you could use stickers. I added a few sequins, but they make beautiful sets of note cards. So what a wonderful gift to give somebody a set of note cards that you've made with the marble paper, and then just decorate them up however you want with die cuts or stickers, or whatever you have around the house you want to decorate it up with. So thank you for joining me for marble paper making. Next month we'll be back. I think we're going to do a piece of jewelry next month. So stay tuned for the flyers at the library. Otherwise, thanks again, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of your week, and I will see you next time. Thanks. Bye-bye.